Tonight, part three of symptoms of MS, a breakdown of one by one based on nhs.uk's website, descriptions of symptoms of MS, or at least the early signs thereof. Uh, by the way, quick disclaimer, if you're experiencing these symptoms, please don't assume that you have MS. Please consult a doctor and gosh, and many other specialists across a duration of time to establish a concise and reliable diagnosis for yourself. Right, now on to the opinion stuff. Pain. This is the one that my wife really wanted me to do first. Um, I think it's because it affects so many elements of life with MS. Not everybody's got pain. I I thought I didn't have pain until I got this ridiculous pinched nerve to a couple of bone spurs in my C7, which I know we've covered at length at this point. When we started on the medication rounds for the pinched nerve, assuming it was MS, I found that there were a lot of little pains that I had no idea I was having until I took the medication and those went away. Suddenly, and I think my wife can tell you, the first couple of days with a good set of pain meds in good combination with the right dosage, I was dancing with my girls. Now, my arm still hurt from the pinched nerve and all that, but you got to understand, like, there was a lift of pain. Just I understood that every movement of every day had to be painful, and that was just the way of things. I'm starting to question that reality. So, if I've had MS since I was 7, my mom did correct this, by the way. It wasn't 4, it was 7 in which I had mono and likely triggered everything that is now MS. Um, if I have had MS since I was 7, then it stands to reason that I don't know what life without MS really genuinely feels like. And so my understanding of existence is entirely through the lens of having MS and whatever symptoms might be attached to that. That is one of the reasons, by the way, that I started this, was because I wanted to give a perspective of life from someone who doesn't know anything else. So, the pain meds, started working on those because of the C7 pinch, which I'm due for another dose right about now. um, and just everything else on the other side. I mean, just other than that arm that is still might end up needing surgery to relieve, everything else feels so good. And I don't mean like euphoric. I just mean everything that I thought was included in life as far as movement and achieving things, the pain that came with that, the fatigue that came with the pain, because it's you get beat up a little bit all day long and eventually you're just tired from dealing with pain all day and you don't even know it. That is something that we might start addressing in my MS journey here, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot more I can be getting done that I had no idea about. So, pain. The NHS describes it as this: it may include stabbing pains to the face, um, a variety of sensations in the trunk and limbs, including feelings of burning, pins and needles, hugging or squeezing. We'll get to that. Muscle spasms can sometimes be painful. Yeah, you think? Oh my goodness, it's like a Charlie horse. It is like a horrific Charlie horse sometimes, each muscle spasm, and it's just a portion of your muscle. I think we talked about this in a previous symptoms uh, episode, so I don't want to go too far into it. But ow! From time to time. Dealing with that takes a little bit of effort mentally, and so you're bleeding out energy, not just from your daily movements, like we talked about, with the inefficiency of nerve pathways losing signal or the signal getting dirty, but also just in the mental fortitude that's required to pursue anything despite an amount of pain that comes with it every single moment of every single day. Stabbing pains in the face. Uh, I don't know where to go with that one. I've never been stabbed in the face, so I really don't know what to do. I've had I one of my first big reveals, as you guys know by now, was Bell's palsy symptoms. You know, the whole right side of my face shut down, and when it was like coming back, it did. There were these weird achy, piercing but achy um, pains as the muscles started waking back up. They were getting signal. The muscles were all fine, but they weren't getting any signal. So it's like no electricity going to the motor. The motor doesn't spin. But as the motor started spinning again, it was like, oh, ow, yeah, we haven't worked in a while. We're not doing what we ought to do. And honestly, I probably should have been hydrating more during that time just to keep the muscles healthy. Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess in that area, stabby, crampy pains, cramps, cramps is probably more accurate, I would say. But I don't know. Somebody with MS with stabbing pains in the face, please comment so that I can get some other input on this because I only have my own. A variety of sensations in the trunk and limbs, including feelings of burning, pins and needles, hugging or squeezing. There's something that we talk about a lot in the MS community, and that's MS hugs. Um, yeah, it's like an invisible boa constrictor wrapping around your rib cage. And every now and then, just imagine all the muscles that are involved in helping you breathe out and breathe in. Not the lung part, that's different, but the muscles, the ab wall, the obliques. There's so many that go into this. Imagine they all seize at the same time. They all cramp, right, like a Charlie horse. That's an MS hug. It may not have pain with it, but suddenly it's kind of hard to breathe, and it's like well, jujitsu again. I keep coming back to it. What a great experience jujitsu's been for me. When somebody is doing, they call it a body triangle, and they've got their legs around you in a way that every time you breathe out, it's harder to inhale because you can't move your rib cage out because they're clamping so tight on you. It feels like that. It feels like another person doing this to you, but in reality, it's your own muscles just compressing. Um, yeah, that's MS hug. Didn't know what it was until I actually read the description. So this is one where it was very helpful to me to read somebody else's definition uh, after having experienced it a few times in my own life. One of the things that I dealt with in the military that ended up, we won't even go into that, but it felt like a heart attack. It felt like somebody sitting on my chest at the same time that I was dealing with some other symptoms that were medication related, as far as we can tell. And so that pressure, it felt like a heart attack. So, whew, yeah, MS hug, not fun, not fun at all. Uh, we're gonna skip. They included musculoskeletal pain. Well, I mean, if you're if all of your muscles are having micro seizures all day, every day, they're going to get tired. They're going to cramp. They're going to be pain. They're going to be in pain, like this is right now for me with this darn pinch. These bone spurs rubbing one of my nerve pathways. Nerve, I don't even know what you'd call it. It's kind of distracting right now. Um, ah, one of the, I lost it. It's gone. Woo! Musculoskeletal pain. Yes. So everything's like seizing, little micro seizures, little Charlie horses all day long. Yeah, you know what? You work a muscle a lot, it's gonna feel achy the next day. Yeah, no surprise there. All right, so here's a fun one. This is one. This is one I really got to thank Dr. Jordan Peterson for helping me with before I was diagnosed. Um, in one of his lectures, I think it's Personality 2017, he talks about how exposing yourself to dramatically new environments helps your brain code for new proteins and start build. It wakes up more of your brain effectively. So that stuck with me because I love to learn. This is something that I've always enjoyed. But when he said that, and then I was diagnosed with MS later, I started running with this crazy idea that maybe as circuits in my brain fail, if I keep trying hard enough to wake up new parts of my brain by exposing myself to new environments and new thoughts and new cultures and new experiences, just dramatically new experiences, maybe I can wake up more of my brain than can fail before the end of my days. It's working so far, gotta say. But there are some things that have already taken hold. In me, particularly, tell you what, we'll just read the list here real quick. I know we're coming up on time. Um, we're going to read through the list. I'm going to tell you what I identify with, and then I'm going to expand on my particular experience on those things. Some people with MS have problems with thinking, learning, and planning. And this is known as cognitive dysfunction. Not even going to go there. This can include problems learning and remembering new things. Long-term memory is usually unaffected. That means crystallized memories, right? Not just like cramming's not going to go well. Slowness in processing lots of information or multitasking. That's not me yet. I don't think. Heather, do I have problems with this? She can't hear me. Anywho, a shortened attention span. So if you're ADHD and you get this, whew, I feel bad for you. Oh my goodness. Getting stuck on words. This one I deal with so much. Getting stuck on words does not even begin to cover this. Imagine you can't bring to, let me start this one over. Imagine you're speaking a sentence about your wife and you cannot bring to your tongue her name. You go to use it in the sentence. It's like, hey, my wife, I know this. What's her name? And the more you try to remember, the more it gets difficult to bring it to the front. Now, here's the really weird part is that you know it. You know it. It's one of these deep things where it's like, I just need to access it. Just need to access it. The file's there, ready to go. It wants to be brought forward. But the trigger, you can't seem to find the trigger to get it to just spit out. It's bizarre. It is so bizarre. I'm telling you. I would love to have a conversation with somebody about this because I feel like there's more to this than I can flesh out in a narration. and a conversation would actually bring it up a bit. It would flesh it out better. So, what I'll do in a situation like that, where I am talking about my wife, who is named, oh, what's her name? What's her name? I've married her in 2009. The invitation said Chase Stephen Ellis, and oh, what was the other name on that invitation? Rats. So that one didn't work. She's also the mother of my kids. The mother of my kids, named Sonia, Mira, and Charles. Her name is. And so what I do is I start working around, like I'm doing here with you now. Um, her name. Gosh, it rhymes with feather. It it's one of the most common like weeds in the world. It's one of the most common names in the world. Thur thur thur, and I still have to come back to it sometimes. But if I can remember some way to connect the dots in a different route than the thought process that I was using to get to it originally, where I said my wife's name is, well, another way to get to that same name is my wife's name is Sonia's mother's name is Heather. Now I remember. There it is. Brutal. It's a brutal thing to deal with when you are podcasting, when you are uh, doing vlogging like I'm doing here. I will say, I had plans to start long form podcasting before I got my diagnosis. And then I chose to go ahead and do long form podcasting despite my diagnosis. And this was one of those things that I mentioned earlier about Jordan Peterson uh, citing studies that showed that exposing yourself to dramatically different situations wakes up new things. I figured, why not just go into the forest where I see it as darkest? There's nothing worse than word finding with a potential global audience watching and you never find the word. But there are ways around it. You can shrug it off and kind of move on. So I know I spent so much time on that. I wanted to end at 15 minutes, and here we are at 17 plus. Let's get through this real quick. Getting stuck on words. We already did that. Problems with understanding and processing visual information, such as reading a map. I don't struggle with this at all. I'm really grateful that I don't. I'd love to hear some input from somebody who does. I want to know what that looks like. Like, is it just too much data? Is it that you can't segment the data and process it from piece to piece? Honestly, these days, most people can't read a map anyway. So I wonder how much that plays into the factor. Moving on, difficulty with planning and problem solving. People often report that they know what they want to do, but can't grasp how to do it. If you're somebody who grasps how you're going to do something based on thinking it through using your imagination rather than relying on coded processes and muscle memory that you've already developed, I can see where this could be problematic. I don't run into this often, but I do feel like I do run into it now and again. And when I do, it's catastrophic. If it's something brand new, especially, I'm lost. If it's something I have context for, I just say, like, there's a switch that flips in my brain that just says, do the thing you did last time. And then I just trust my arms and legs to do whatever it was I did last time. Oh, I feel like we need more time on this one. All right, last one. Problems with reasoning, such as mathematical laws or solving puzzles. Genuinely, I have no context for this at all yet. Hopefully, I never do. Um, I, but I approach those things differently than other people too. So there are things where you have to, again, cognitively think about the laws and then work your way through them, or you've built them through repetition enough that they just kind of happen. And I know I'm going to leave you hanging on this, and I feel terrible for it. I am being terrible for doing it. But we should talk about that. We have talked about some of this in some of the UFO, actually. Yes, the CIA videos, but I'm going to leave you guys to try to connect the dots. No, I'm not. One day we'll talk about the difference between knowing what you're doing as you're doing it and thinking it through in an imaginative fashion versus doing things because you've mapped them to a autonomic process. Yeah, cool stuff there. Um, but many of these problems aren't specific to MS and can be caused by a wide range of other conditions, including depression and anxiety, or even some medicines. Holy cow. Let's just say, you know what? Let's move that back. A wide range of other conditions, including medications that you might be on. Mm-hmm. And in limited cases, depression and anxiety. Wow, I went there. Yep. Cliffhanger. So next week, and maybe you can blame my last statement on this potential symptom, mental health issues, sexual problems. I don't even know if I'm going to do that one. That's pretty personal. I mean, I would do it if you asked, but I don't know that I'm just going to volunteer that. Same with bladder problems, bowel problems, issues I don't deal with, but those are tough topics. And I honestly, again, if you ask me to, I'm happy to dive into those, but I am not necessarily gonna jump right in with just because, I want to. Speech and swallowing difficulties is going to be our last symptom here that we'll cover. We'll get to that one. That one is important because I didn't experience that until the pinched nerve. You guys have been awesome. It's been 23 minutes plus. Thank you. I can't believe this went this long. I can't believe you're still watching and listening. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a great rest of your day, evening, week, month, year, lifetime. You're awesome. I said that. I feel like I'm rambling. Good night.